Hi, she's Trixie, and I'm Sarah, and this is Our Yarn World, a place where we come to share the love of yarn crafts and all that it gives us, and what we hope it gives you. We're on episode 138 today, and we are... Did we film last week?
Yeah.
Okay.
You did your haul.
That's right. It was a week before that we didn't make it.
Yeah.
Okay, yep. All right. So, this week we have some fun updates from our personal things that we are making, and on top of just fun updates as from people who are crafting and are currently trying to make it something for themselves.
Yeah.
So, without further ado, Maja, what you doing?
Well, I wanted to say first that there's a new friend of mine at church. She was part of the host team to welcome people into the church, and she met me at the door, and she noticed on my purse I have my keys. I like to hang things from my zippers and stuff, and it was a chapstick holder that Sarah had made me.
That's right.
And she's like, "Do you crochet?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "I do crochet, but I didn't make that. My daughter did. She did." So she's like, "I like to crochet too." And she says, "But I like blankets." And I said, "Me too." And she says, "We live in a basement and it's cold. So I like making blankets because you can put them over your lap and you can just keep going." And, when I'm watching TV
You have found your people.
I told her that too. I said, "Wow, we get along great." That's exactly why I like doing it. And so she was all excited. And so after church, she ran up to me and she says, "There's another person who crochets here in the church. I'm going to bring you over to her and you can meet her." And this woman, I don't recall her name, but she crochets at church to kind of help her listen better. Isn't that how we all are? Like when we're crocheting, watching TV, we're listening a lot of the time. We may look up every once in a while to see what's going on, and I think that's what she does at church. She makes hats. And so,
Okay.
And she's got a little business, and I can't remember what the name of the business is, but it's downtown in our town. And so she makes hats for her business, and I was just like in heaven, because it was like I had two new friends. They crochet, and I told my daughter, and I told her, the first woman, Elizabeth, she has a little boy, and I think that maybe we could get together, and I'm going to suggest it, and maybe the little boys could play together and we could crochet. So if you're watching, this is an idea that I came up with, and I'm shooting it out there into the universe, and we'll see how it lands. But so here's what I've been working on. So I have the wool skeins that I have been working with. As a reminder, it was 24 skeins of Lassie Manita wool yarn made in Italy. All different shades, black all the way down to gold, and all kinds of grays. And so I'm hitting my first gray right now. I am using a 5mm hook, a double crochet, and so the gray is just one step up from the black, and we're just heading into that area now. Now I have 200 stitches across. I'm trying to make this for our queen size bed, and I want overhang. So I made the chain right at the end of my bed, and I kept going until there was overhang on both sides. And then I just, I added one, so it was 201 chains. And then when I started going back, I went so I have 200 across. So just in case you're trying to do something that way yourself. Now I do have a looser gauge than she does. You would have to, if you were ever going to try and make something with a 4-ply yarn, trying to make something for your own bed, you have your own preferences as to how far down you want it on either side. Make as many chains as you desire to make it the length that you want, or the width that you want, I guess. You're making the length right now with your stitches, but your chain is how wide you want it. So yeah, I'm not going to say that 200 or 201 stitches is going to be enough for you if you're a tighter gauge. If you're a loose gauge like me, it may work for you. But I would say just stand at the end of your bed and figure out how many chains you need for your overhang and for the whole thing. And then go to wherever you crochet and start going back and forth until it's done. You know, you're going to be checking every once in a while, periodically, while you're doing the length of your blanket to find out, okay, you want it to overhang the end of your bed as well, and go over 2 people, and go all the way up to how far you want it at the head of your bed. So it's all going to work out in the end. Doing the stitches, being consistent, trying to figure it out. But that's what I'm working on. And it's taken a little longer because it's double the width of what I'm used to. I'm usually doing personal blankets for people, and it's only usually 100 stitches across.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm working on. And now what are you working on?
A chicken.
She's making lots of little chickens.
Okay, so for all of you who do know, I am trying to create a kind of small business for myself, and I was thinking about the fact of I love making amigurumis, and I want to make things in those sizes as well, a little bit bigger, a little bit more something to play with. But I also realized that pretty much making miniature amigurumis were practically the perfect size of a keychain.
Yeah.
And so I've been coming up with my own designs. There's a fuzzy in there. My own designs for things that will turn out well for keychains.
Yeah.
And I've been writing the patterns and hope to be able to actually publish those as well. But I've just been making things, and I know that I keep showing you different updates when I get done with them. But I just, I've noticed that even though I'm not fully organized yet, one of the designs that I've made up that seems to be really popular, no matter how much I try to get it built back up on my supply, it keeps dwindling because people will take and pay for it or just want it before I have even felt like I was set for the next thing. But which is my little
DIY chicken.
Just my little
She's
chick chick.
little brooding chicken.
Yeah. Here, come on. It has her little feathers at the end and her little face and everything. So yeah, that's my chicken. And these are popular. I have people just coming out of the woodwork for these, and so I had to. But the problem was that I forgot the pattern. I thought I wrote it down, but I couldn't find it in my notes. So yesterday was trial and error to figure out how I made them. But I figured it out.
Did you write it down?
I did.
Oh, good.
This time I figured it out, and I wrote it down. But I've also been I'm not going to show all the ones that I've already made, because if you just go back a couple of episodes, you'll see them. But these are new ones that I haven't really shown you guys yet.
Yeah.
So I figured out how to make hearts.
That's so cute.
I think I might make these a little bit more detailed. These are inspiration of Valentine's, so I might put an arrow through it or write XOXO on it. I don't know.
Or anybody who likes hearts. They may just like plain ones.
I have a whole section of my keychain rack that is based off of holidays.
Yeah.
So that's where that's coming from.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about this one yet, but this one's supposed to be Saturn.
I like it.
Not saying that it's bad by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like I could make it better. If that makes sense. Like I'm working on it because I have a whole entire idea of making a whole entire space themed section, and I want to make sure that I get it right. The right size, the right build, and I want to make sure that I write the pattern down, because when I made this one again, I did not write the pattern down, so it was just a spur of the moment make that doesn't work long term. So I have to figure out what I'm doing. I did write this pattern down though. I feel like I might have shown you guys this one, which is which is it's an ice cream cone, and it's vanilla with strawberry syrup running down it, and with some like sprinkles. So yeah,
So good.
and it even kind of overflows over the ice cream cone. But my other designs is the same thing, but this one just has regular sprinkles on it. And then this one has a spiral of flavor on it. This one reminds me of when I would go to the ice cream parlor. There was those ones that always, there was like vanilla, but it had the swirl, and you could get like a pink swirl or this kind of like a blue swirl or whatever, and it just add a little bit of flavor. I don't know what it was. I don't think it was syrup, but it was something, and this is what this one's inspired off of. But pretty much all that it was top stitching the spiral of how I worked the top of the ice cream. So it was simple, but it was fun. I plan to put all of these different patterns up at some point whenever I actually put on an online store and do it. But yeah, so these are keychains I just wanted to show off and express. But yeah, and share with you. But my little chickens are just they're
the popular ones.
They're the popular ones. So right now I'm in the middle of, I have all these rolled up amounts of yarn that will make them. And the reason why I know is because I made them, and then realized I made them too big, but I had already mass produced them.
Oh.
I pussed them out last night and even used safety eyes on them. Just realized I had to pop out the safety eyes and pop out all my work this morning, because I realized that I did not do it to the right scale. I'd done all the right stitch work, but I had used a hook size one higher than it was supposed to be.
Oh gosh. Okay.
The one that I did fully make and fulfill, I just gave to Olivia because I wasn't gonna undo a one that already had every detail on it. Just like, no, but I'm not gonna sell it because I want them all to look the same size.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay. But one of the things I want to show you was that I did make all these candy corn ones. And I really like these. These ones are obviously inspired for Halloween. But I was thinking they're kind of plain to me. And I was thinking about maybe using puffy paint and making a little face on them, like a jack-o'-lantern face or something.
Like emojis.
Yeah, but I really wanted to do it with buttons, where it's like little button eyes, so that they look like little dolls.
Yeah.
I didn't want to use these, and I have little buttons, but I couldn't find them before I came over, so I thought maybe I could try it with puffy paint, because I do have it, and I don't know what I would ever actually use the puffy paint. So I don't know. Right now I'm heavily focused on getting all the chickens done, so this might just be a project that I put down until I actually try the buttons on it and see if I like it, because I'd rather have the chance of taking the buttons off if I don't like it. Whereas the puffy paint isn't going to have that effect. It's going to be on, and once it dries, then I'm just going to have to deal with it. So yeah, I am just, very excited for this. I brought my kit to be able to make these during Memorial's Day with my family while we were just sitting, and I had some people buy some of my stuff and even made some requests and even some orders. So it's one of those things where it's really exciting when people are not only inspired but enjoy your work and enjoy what you do, and you can see how excited other people are getting off of what you do, to the point where not only they want to buy it but they want to share it, or they want to see you succeed as well. And that's just, it means a lot. So thank you to all those family members that I don't know if you'd ever see this, but thank you for purchasing. And I will definitely keep going, and I know that the chickens are a good seller, so I just have to see if I can find more of this sort of yarn, because a lot of the yarn that I'm using, it was donated or remnant yarns that were just handed to me. So once they're made, they're one of a kind. So I just have to try to figure out what I'm doing. But yarn like this, where it has this, it's like a thread that, see if you can see the little black tail, is a thread that is woven with fibers in it while it's twisted. It makes for a feathery effect, allows for texture where you don't see your stitches when you're crocheting, and that works for when you're trying to do feathered creatures, because then it doesn't, it gives off that resemblance of it being like a feathered creature, rather than using an acrylic that you might see the stitches. This kind of creates even much more of a, I don't know.
It's just a nice effect.
It's an extra detail that if you just have the right material to meet the need, it ends up speaking volumes. And people have been very much enjoying it. So I am trying to meet that demand by trying to figure out what sort of material this actually is.
We may have to do a road trip.
We might, honestly, because I need to figure out what this is.
You need to keep a portion of it. So
I'm going to snap it and put it in my wallet or something, so that I know
so that when we go to the stores, we can look for it. So if any of you know what sort of yarn this is, I'd appreciate it, you sharing with it down below in the comment section, but or other types of yarn that you could think would work to creating a much more seamless finished fabric after you've whipped up something, because anything that kind of covers its stitches and has like that soft feathery look, could you go grab the brooding hen over there that I made? And then I want to explain how we don't know, why we don't know what this is.
My mom's just going to get a finished product that I made her, that we end up swapping. We bartered, where I made this and she took it, and bartering for what I needed from her.
It's my baby.
But this again is another example of yarn that I had in my stash that I didn't know where it came from. I did not buy it. It was given to me.
I think it's one that I gave you. And you only had enough for two.
Yeah. And as you can see, you can't really see the stitches, but the effect that this gives is it's like that undercoat of the black, where the feather, where it's a feathery look that leaves the outside tips looking white and frosty. And there are literal chickens that have this texture, and so I made this, and so it's a bigger one, obviously, in representation of this little guy, but it comes off with that same effect of the hidden stitches and that feathery little effect that leaves, obviously, the finished product looking still cartoony, but comes off much more like it's a salute to the actual animal. It has much more authenticity towards the idea of the same animal. So. And
she put weighted beads in this, so it's more like a paperweight. So
which is why
holds my napkins
Which
down.
is why I call it the brooding hen, because it's not going to move. It wants to...
I have a basket full of napkins and she sits on it.
But yeah, like I said, I got a lot of my remnant yarn from my mom, who will explain how she got it. If you want to have a good idea as to how we got it, you can watch our episode from last week that talks about hauls from secondhand stores, which is what my mom is best at.
Yeah, I go to thrift stores, and a lot of times they will have big bags full of yarn.
Yes.
And they're just remnants of yarns, but a lot of times there's colors in there that I would like to work with, or something that I would like to use in future blankets or projects or whatever. I like scrappy blankets too.
Yes.
So, but the yarn, this yarn and this yarn, I did not know what to do with. I had no idea. I'm not really good with not being able to see where I'm going in stitches wise. And so I gave this stuff to Sarah when she wanted to start this business. And when she made the chicken, I just thought that was brilliant. It was just like, this is why I had to give it to you. This is why God let me buy it in the first place, so that you could make these things. And that's why we don't know what kind of yarn it is. There was no labels on these. And we were getting them from a secondhand store. They were just remnants. There was no label. And this is why we don't know what they are. And so
it's a blessing and a curse,
yes,
because it comes at a cost of you're getting it for a better discount than you would if you were
yes,
getting it wholesale, but then that comes as you're doing literal yarn chicken,
yeah,
trying to figure out where to match a yarn to a type of yarn,
yeah,
to a fabric of yarn, and I'm guessing it's a polyester yarn of some sort, because the fibers are very synthetic, maybe, I don't know. Because most soft yarns are not necessarily acrylic made, because
right,
acrylic made fluffy yarns are not normally popular. Normally most like blanket / faux fur yarns I feel like are made polyester.
yeah.
I might be wrong, but I know that they're normally not acrylic. Normally they're like wool or
yeah,
polyester or something softer and a much more of a forgiving fuzzy fiber,
right,
like these. But yeah, quite literally yarn chicken is what I'm playing with my chickens. So, you know, the irony is not lost on me
yeah,
here.
And so that's why we don't know what the name of it is, or the weight, or anything like that. We just don't know enough about it, except that it makes great chickens.
But I know that my husband, who normally buys yarn for me when he's at secondhand stores, was talking to me about the fact that every single time he's looking now, he's trying to find yarn like this, because he thinks that these creations particularly are brilliant.
Yes.
And that he thinks that they would do well and have done well.
Yes.
So it's we live right next to farming country,
yes,
and there are a lot of people that just decorate with chicken themes and just
Have giant chickens out in their front yard.
Yeah.
Metal ones.
So, and again, there's nothing wrong with
or
that.
Or literal chickens running around their yard.
Yeah. Well, and that's what's crazy, is that even our city ordinance, there is, I think it's right, I might be, I don't know. I know that it's a thing where people actually have to be told, just because you own a property doesn't mean you can have just chickens anywhere, because chickens cannot be around certain city limits, because they are not considered a domestic they're not domestic, they are farming. And
yeah,
so even though chickens are easier to take care of than other farming animals, they are still considered like hazards in their own right, or just intrusive, because they just go wherever they want when they're outside of their hen,
right,
their box, their coop, so to speak. I don't know. I'm not trying to talk bad about chickens. Obviously, they're doing well for me in this regard, but I worked at an auction house out in the farmland with chickens, and that turned me when it came to the idea of ever owning chickens, because I have friends that do. They love them. I know people that actually keep chickens as pets. They love them, and chickens are great if you actually know what to do with them. But around the people that I was around that were getting rid of their chickens, there are horrific stories I could tell you about it. So it's just not my favorite animal in the world. And every single time my husband's ever like, we could have our own chicken coop, I'm like, nah, No, that's not what I would assume is a fun pastime to have. You can get a dog. I mean, we probably could get other farm animals. Seriously, I probably would be okay with even other farm animals other than chickens. They're not my favorite.
My husband wanted to get chickens for so long, and it's like, no, I refuse to take care of them. You're at work, and it would be all on me, and I don't want to do it.
Well, and they're good animals. That's the thing. They're not crazy animals to take care of. They're quite smart. If you give them a good routine, they're fine. They keep to themselves. I'm not even acting like they're that hard. I understand why people enjoy having them, but it's my personal experience I personally have with people who, the chickens that came out of some of the cars that I dealt with at the auction, it was not a pleasant scene. It's just not my favorite, you know? And again, that's a bad experience. I know that can't be the crux of everything, but I can't imagine. And I think also, and this is again maybe me showing my weaker side, if I was taking care of an animal, I would want it to be my pet.
Yeah.
And the idea that I'd raise it most likely to farm it at some point.
Yeah.
Based on its intentional purpose in life.
Well, it gives you eggs until it can't anymore, and then it becomes your meat.
I just can't. Like, I know people who legitimately have chickens as pets.
Yeah.
Not inside their house or anything, but if they call their name, that chicken's coming like a like it's coming.
Yeah.
And they're friendly with it, and it's like, that's so cool. It's cool.
It really
Those
is.
people are great. I have no problem. I'm not saying you're inhumane for using the chicken as a meat source. It's
The
fine.
way God intended.
It's fine. It's just one of those things that it's not for me, and I know that. I just do. I apologize. But just growing up close to farmland, you meet a lot of characters, you know a lot of people that have chickens, that have the pigs, that have the horses, that have the cows, that have the goats, that have the sheep, that have all the pheasants, and it's a way of life, and I respect it. You just gotta want it, and knowing your boundaries and knowing that you're not that sort of person that would want to have those animals is very important, because if you really don't want it, then it's not going to be a harmonious little paradise like people think it's going to be just having them on your land. It's not how it works. I promise you. You gotta want it.
You have to have the heart for it.
You do. I refuse to talk about what I've seen in front of everybody on the internet, but my goodness, it was horrible. You gotta really want it, okay? Got to.
Well, with that, we have a verse today, and it says, "Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." And that's found in Psalms 90, verse 12, in the NIV version. "Teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain a heart of wisdom." And I have a little note here. It says, not a year at a time, but a day at a time. And so take your days one day at a time and make sure God's in them too. You know, that He's directing your days so that all things will go well.
I remember reading a book that was written by some missionaries, and it was talking about how in Western culture we have a tendency of almost valuing time, as in with money.
Yeah.
We have phrases that kind of talk like that, like it's a waste of time,
Right.
or time costs you money, because a lot of the times, especially in the capitalist society, we get paid for our time and our labor. And so, when you grow up in a culture like that, with that sort of relationship with time, when you're trying to speak and have some sort of conversation with a culture that does not value time the same, that does not have the language that that equates time with worth or resources or quality, like the idea of like quality time, like they don't have that sort of relationship. It is just what is in front of me and the idea of what I can get done during this time, but if it doesn't happen, then there's tomorrow. They have no idea about, I'm not saying that that makes them primitive, because they have other things that they exceed us in that regard, but they also told the missionaries that they thought it was a handicap of a way of thinking to have such a limitation on the way that you thought about your time as something that you had to constantly manage, instead of using your wisdom to know that you will get it done or you won't. Yeah. That if you really want it, it will be done.
Right.
Or it won't.
Right.
Choose. And there was that aspect that outside of worth, it was just a choice to make it, because to them time was and is and will be, and it will be taken away from them at some point.
Right.
And they just knew that as a fact, and so they let what happened during their time span happen.
Right.
They had peace with knowing that it would just happen.
Wow.
They didn't schedule it day to day.
Right.
They didn't count Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday the same way. They didn't value the sunset to the sunrise to the sunset the same, because they had a peace with it that if they told their wives, "Hey, we're going to go fishing," their wives realized that that could be 5 days before they came back, because fishing meant they could get lost to what they were doing. And I just when I read this verse, teach us to number our days aright, that we may gain a heart of wisdom, I think it not only means that we need to be able to find meanings in the lessons that we have learned in our time, that we have spent, but also recognizing that there are times where using the Western view has a way of aiding us to be able to be more productive.
Yeah.
But also realizing when it's appropriate to let it be spontaneous and let life exist.
Let it
and
happen.
Experience it.
Yeah.
There is a wisdom to experiencing life as it was intended.
Right.
I think sometimes we take it so seriously.
Exactly.
And it's not that we shouldn't take our life on earth experiencely, importantly, but that we should recognize that there should be a balance. Yeah. And I thought that that concept with those two cultures clashing and them having this debate about time in relationship to not only their language but their understanding of it really spoke to me when I saw this, because it was just like, yeah, number your days, but that's what makes you wise. That's what gives you understanding to know when and when not to.
Right.
It's seeing what you've done and making your choices to whether you want to do it again or not.
Yeah.
There should be a peace. There should be an equilibrium. The scales should not always be swinging back and forth, but an understanding as to this is my past and this is my future, and the peace is how I use it to balance me out right now in the present.
Right.
I don't know. It's just one of those things. That's what I heard when I read that verse, and I just was like, oh, I remember that. I'm going to share it.
It will be down in the description area. If you like this video, like it, subscribe, tell your friends.
I'm very sorry for my little one constantly taking up Nana's time during this video.
Yeah,
he just kept coming and being like, Nana.
No, not yet. Not yet.
So
we've got to go take care of him. So,
but we appreciate you guys. Share with us what you're doing.
Yeah.
If you have anything that you're doing to really get yourself excited for the summer, whether you're getting ready for markets or whether you're getting ready for getting into your cozy, figuring out what you're just going to do to have your you time despite having all the kids around, or just knowing that your grandkids are coming out of school and they're going to likely come to your house at some point and you're going to have something easy to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed your time. I just like being here and chatting with you and chatting with my mom and being able to feel like we can share our conversations with you guys. As always, just come check out the channel, see what you like. But until next week, we hope that you stitch your way
To mental health.